So, Tracy, you are welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
I have a very simple question for you, which is trans woman a woman?
Yeah, I think it's a very nuanced question, of course.
Okay.
But in the most simple term, let's just say yes. A trans woman is a woman.
So what do you mean by a trans woman is a woman?
Yeah, a trans woman is a woman in the sense that normally we would think that human beings should be able to identify or differentiate between a male and a female on a normal day, like just by seeing them. But the problem we actually are going to encounter is the fact that we in fact cannot tell them apart necessarily.
So if I tell you that I'm a woman, are you saying I'm a woman?
Like, okay, in your case, it's obvious that you are not a woman. But now, if you know people like Onta Shefa and Kim Petras, if you've seen those two people, you will realize, for instance, that these people look very much like women. They are, in fact, women. You can't see them on the street and mistake them for men. Or they were actually born male. They were born as a guy.
So, essentially, what you are saying is that it's so hard to know a man from a woman, especially from an appearance, which I will agree in the case of the actress and the pop actor that you have cited.
Yeah.
But if I come up to you and say, I'm a lawyer, or let's say I'm a doctor, right?
Yeah.
And I can, fake my way into that, I got a suit, and I want to go and defend you in court. Are you going to allow me to do that?
The funny thing is that primarily, not primarily, practically,
okay,
that's the case. I won't be able to. How many people actually have employed a lawyer before or a doctor before, and then really went to check whether they have their records under NBA, Nigerian Bar Association, or for the Nigerian Medical Association? You actually go and check if they are qualified to practice or not before you allow them to administer their services to you. I don't think that's very common. So it's just how our life kind of works most days. We can be hoodwinked into that kind of stuff easily. So at the end of the day, is that person not practically a lawyer or a doctor?
I think there's a case in Kenya or Ghana that a guy went to court to win a lot of cases, and he was found out to be and that means that all those cases will be retried.
Yeah,
that's what it means.
Yeah.
So now here's the thing: if I cannot see by face that you are a lawyer or you are not a lawyer, and I cannot see by face that you are a woman or a man. So what exactly seems to be the problem here? Is it the problem of identity or of identification? Because we both know that a woman by genetics, biology is XY chromosome.
By sex.
By sex is XY chromosome. So if I identify as a woman, and that means I'm a woman, where is the tiny line? Because I can see two practical problems here. The problem of identity.
Exactly.
And the problem of identification. Sure. So how do we walk through this thing? What's your proposition?
I see more of anybody that wants to identify as a woman that was born male, that was previously male, needs to do enough work to make it convincing that he or she is a woman. Like, you can't just say you are a woman and then come out with beards or with every masculine features and then expect people to identify you for real as a woman. But when those things are done, like the features are there, obvious, you really think somebody will mistake you and say this person is a man? The people will mistake you for being a woman. Well, that's going to be the case.
I think there's this show where Ben Shapiro and one transgender lady
guy,
we are confused. Actually, it was stressing to be Ben Shapiro, and I could say for a fact that even when I see that kind of guy, I won't by mistake call him a woman.
A woman. Like, this guy is going to beat him up for real.
Here's the thing that I think is lacking in the American diction or semantics in this debate. Is this thing about identity and identification. I think you agree with me.
Yes.
So we can accept that by identity, there's a woman and there's a man. There's a female and there's a male.
There are definite grounds.
Definitely for identity, right? There's a not lawyer, there's a lawyer.
Exactly.
There's someone listed on the NBA list and someone that is not listed on the NBA list. You understand? So that's what makes you a lawyer or not a lawyer. Or in this case, we are talking about gender. That's what makes you we are talking about sex. They will say we are talking about sex. That's what makes you a man or a woman. But in the case of when you're able to present yourself as a lawyer, especially you're able to convince your client, you're able to convince the judge, the sitting judge, you're able to convince the bailiff, you are able to convince the clerk, you are able to fill the motion to delay, motion to deny continuous properly. You know, I'm sure that many of the viewers that are watching us have seen Suit, and they see how
Mycross was practically a lawyer.
And he was on the verge of winning the case, the law case of, before he confessed, the law case of, I don't know whether I have checked up to that serious. He was on the verge of winning the law case that is challenging his bar status. In fact, the jury has declared him not guilty, that he's a lawyer. And then he came out, he confessed. So I think everyone that is debating this topic needs to be on the table is this problem of identification and identity. Identification is the process of being able to see you and know that you're a male, or be able to see you and know that you're a woman. And then being able to, and then the identity part is that your identification will prove your identity, right? Exactly. And then here is the interesting part. If we have agreed that it's an identification and identity problem, there's a male identity, there's a female identity by their genetics. Somebody that have X and Y chromosomes and whatever, and nobody goes around and carry a tooth test and start testing. Be Tracy, let me test you. Oh, you're a man, XS chromosome. Let me test you. You're a woman. Nobody does that. So, what are the criteria, and at what point do you think the government should give people rights to have such identification? Because I think for a voter, we expect them to be like 18 before they have the voting right.
Exactly.
I think drinking and going to club is like 21 or something.
Yeah.
So what do you think should happen in that game? I think the first thing is this clarification of the semantic.
Yeah,
it should be clear that the debate we are having is a debate of identity and identification.
Then we can move forward from there.
And I think some part of the dialogue, especially people that are of the school of if I identify as a woman, I'm a woman, they don't really want to bring these semantics into the table. I think that's the word they are trying to avoid. And why do you think that's the case? I
think it's the case mostly because some people get very ridiculous with these things. Like I was watching a video and the man was like, if somebody tells me she's a woman, if somebody tells me she's a she, and then I'm going to call her a she, what do you mean by that?
Like really?
What do you mean by that?
Somebody says he's a doctor, are you going to accept?
So you are going to accept a random police officer telling you that I'm a police officer, then you're under arrest, and then you are going to submit yourself to that? Is that how you live your life? Mm-hmm. So why should you start living your life that way in this sense? Mm-hmm. But at least there should be a level of presentation that should be expected from someone who is saying he is no longer a male or a person of this gender, then is now a person of a different gender. There should be a kind of presentative, should I use that word?
That's identification.
Which is identification, which is a work that should be done.
This FBI, freeze.
To be able to secure that kind of permit. To be able to secure that kind of stuff. So there should be something of that nature. I see it generally as something like of the nature of a change of name and stuff like that. Even for change of name, there is legal procedure for a change of name. There should be a legal procedure for change of gender too. And the government should be able to. So when these people that are having standard, this conversation, because I don't know when it will become a conversation we have in Nigeria or in Africa at one point. But when these people that are having this government, these cities, these countries, that are having this conversation, first you should understand that it's a question of identity and identification. And then the second thing, how do you propose that this identification should be given? On what can? Should be legally stated that, okay, if you can grow breast, grow this, grow that, go through this specific.
What would you recommend?
Surgeries.
You are a lawyer. You should be able to give us.
There are some surgeries called gender affirming surgeries.
Okay.
The government. Thank God, government can actually say, this is a speed limit. Anything above $480 is grand theft. Stealing anything above $480 is $900 and something is grand theft and stuff like that. Government can place those kind of stuff. So we can place the kind of number that you must have gone through these stages of the gender affirming care, which is stage of maybe changing genitalia if you want to go that far. But even if you don't want to go that far, at least poverty blockers. Since
nobody is showing their genitalia to the public. So
maybe we don't need to go that far necessarily.
But at least don't grow beards.
Or for women, for instance, breasts are an identifier for women. So at least even if it's not.
And please don't grow beards.
Don't grow beards. If you are a woman too. Of course, there are women who grow beards naturally, but that's a rare case. And they always cut
don't grow beards.
So don't grow beards. You will confuse the hell out of us. And then if there are stuffs, these hormone blockers, not puberty blockers, I was wrong. So hormone blockers that people can take to reduce, like estrogen instead of testosterone, to reduce testosterone in someone that is changing from male to female. Use it enough to the point where your voice will start changing.
Yeah, I think there's that for guys who testosterone. You can start taking
stuff like that. And if it's a female, you can start taking testosterone. So the reverse will be the case. That way you'll be able to grow beards and every other things that are usually. What
are you proposing that there should be legal, is it an act of the parliament on this identification process?
Exactly, there should be.
So we should first, as semantic, understand that this debate is about identity and identification. And then in the identification process, it should be legally required. Do you think minors should be able to request for that?
I love that, because this is also becoming a serious issue publicly, and that's because
that's what we call it minor butchering. They are cutting up our
and these are things that don't even need to be a problem, given that we can be so worried about kids to the point where we don't want them to harm themselves for life, to the point where we can raise the age where they can start drinking alcohol, to the point where we can say, no, you can't make decision about your body, like who you want to sleep with and everything like that.
Exactly.
So you can't make decisions.
Yeah, that's what we do when we say there's a, what's it called? What kind of rape do we call it?
Statutory
rape. Yeah.
So we have stuff like that. Anybody that sleeps with a minor is committing statutory rape. So we have stuff like voting. You are not allowed to vote until you are 18. So why should it be hard for people to agree that you should not be allowed to change your gender until you are of the age where you can take responsibility for it? Which is our age of consent, at least.
Let me recap like that. So first, let's make this conversation be about identity and identification. And second is that let there be a law that specifies the identification. But let's be a body that sit down and say, this is the identification process for you to say, I am a registered male.
Exactly.
And I'm a registered female. And and these are the things that I've done to accredit myself. Exactly. Just the same way everybody has to go to some certain rigors before you call yourself a lawyer or a doctor
or a police officer.
Or a police officer for that matter, Even many other low professions require some form of accreditation. Even to be a political scientist, you have not studied political science in one whatever. At best, they will call you a political commentator. They will not call you a political scientist. There's no science in your analysis of politics. So it's like that. Almost everywhere is there. So we shouldn't make this conversation bogus. God said it versus God doesn't say it. We are in a social contract society. It's a lot of people coming together and think the best way forward. So let's stop using all this. I'm tired of seeing all this content on YouTube and Facebook that everybody just sounding bogus. Even the people that thought they are intelligent, they are very sounding bogus.
They run away from the
Do you think the thing is that people are not thinking clearly about it like this? Or what's the problem?
No, I think, for instance, I also learned from this conversation that it is a matter of specifically that is a matter of identity and identification. I didn't know that previously. I was always on the ground of this should be an issue of sex and gender, and then I'm like, I hope to God that these people will understand what I'm saying. So because many people when they hear someone like me talking about it, they'll be like, this guy is just supporting the LGBT people. Like, which is like, me of all people, what's my own business with LGBT people in the first place? It's not even accepted in Nigeria, so it's not supposed to be my cup of tea. But this is like, think about this matter, and then, so I think articulating the issue is also a big part of the problem. Knowing that it's an identity/identification issue, and where do we want this to meet? Where do we want this to diverge? Where do we need either of the two?
Exactly.
Is going to solve a lot of problems than several words. 200,000 words.
There's just too much debate online, and they don't. No side is seeming to get it
at all.
Some people are like, I'm this Judeo-Christian ideologist. God created male and women.
Male and female, he created them.
Hello, the person you are talking to doesn't believe in your book, in your text and your corpus in the first place. All these arguments will not work for him. So, and the person that is trying to say, I feel like a woman and I think I have the right to become such. Of course, they feel like a woman. And since they are not harming anybody, because if you put it on the moral landscape, can they will it? Yes. Does it affect any other person? I don't think so. So the only thing that can affect other people is then someone that look like a male actually want to use a public toilet with a female. So, or someone that look like a female want to use public toilet with male. So once you have really passed the bar, you have passed the check mark, there's a blue tick in front of your name, we can accredit that, oh, you look like a woman, you feel like a woman, you talk like a woman.
Although, to add one more thing, I think there should also be public disclosure like a full disclosure. So that if you have transitioned before, it should be noted. Like it should be on a kind of record that this person has
Do you think
transitioned
that
before.
can work? Because people don't want to be carrying labels around and feel like, oh, because there will be a lot of debate that that's going to spawn out and be like, oh, so I'll be carrying plaque on my forehead that was once a woman or a, because many of them are not proud of being a man. That's why they want to be a female. And many of them are not proud of being a female. That's why they want to become, my nigga, G. In the first place.
I think the society should be able to come up with something about that at the end of the day, once this kind of laws will be made, so that people will be able to protect the interest of people who will also,
because that will spawn some debate into the territory of discrimination.
Discrimination, yeah.
Because if you say you are not comfortable with being in a room with, you may not. We're about to date, and you are previously a male. Maybe I should know, because of course you don't have the ovary or something to have children. That's clear.
I think,
but when you are living in a work environment, general public place, I don't think I should be carrying on my forehead to that.
It shouldn't matter.
So that's it on legally speaking. Our very first episode. In next and coming episode, is either me and Betracy, or me, Betracy, and someone else is legal mind that will be coming and looking at matters that supposed to be in legal territory, that's supposed to have clear semantics and language like this, and we should be able to just iron in that without sounding bogus and talking about Christ and Jesus and Father of heavens as the source of our wisdom. We can look at this as woman being under social law, social contracts and the law of society, and then we can debate. Any final note that you want to drop for the audience?
Yeah, like that's just it. Just remember that it's a matter of identity and identification.
So you can follow us across social. It's Radical Clash on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Radical Clash. And you can follow us across social. It's Radiclash across Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Radiclash, RADICLASH. This is Legally Speaking, and we'll see you in the next episode.